Representative Bob Peterson and Whitney Bowers with the Ohio Farm Bureau. Welcome to Message from the House.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
I heard you both might have been talking about the podcast recently with a larger group of our coworkers here in the House, Rep. Peterson.
I think it's fair to say we're excited.
I love that.
Everyone's a fan.
Spread the word. Everyone's a fan. I love that. Thank you.
I'm actually fearful because I now know that people actually watch this podcast. So.
That is great news. Me too, maybe. Maybe that scares me as well. With that introduction, today we will be talking all things agriculture, farming. This is a sector I'm not super familiar with, so I'm hoping to learn some things today too. Rep. Peterson, I'll start with you. Talk me through your background in farming and the expertise you bring to this department.
Sure. No, I'm a farmer. My brother and I are the 8th generation of Peterson's farm in the United States. We wandered around Virginia for a couple generations and have spent the last 5 or 6 generations in Ohio. Been where we currently farm since 1958 when my parents bought the farm. Our son is back, has joined the operation, so there's a 9th generation. And I actually got involved in politics and was active in Ohio Farm Bureau for many years because I wanted to make sure that my children had an opportunity to live, grow, succeed in Ohio. And that's been important to me, whether I was a Farm Bureau leader or a county commissioner or now in the legislature.
What exactly does your family farm?
So we are very typical of everybody else in the Midwest. A lot of corn and soybeans. Okay. We have raised a lot of livestock in the past, and we think livestock is likely to be part of our future also. So very typical of a Midwest farm.
Great. Whitney, I'll ask you, did you have any background growing up in farming, or how did you kind of get into this area?
Yeah, so I grew up in Rep. Peterson's district in Southern Ohio, come from an agricultural family. I now live on a 4th generation grain and cattle farm, very similar to Rep. Peterson's in Fairfield County. My kids are the 4th generation, and like the representative, I get to go to work every day and say I'm working on behalf of their future. That's also what I tell my husband. Oh, I have a dinner tonight. I'm doing it for you.
This is for you. I'm going to this dinner and
yeah.
going to small talk and do our thing for you.
It's a great feeling to know that there are actual people that everything you do could have an immediate impact on, just like here in the State House. I mean, it's a really great industry to represent, and having been a part of it a long time, it's a great place.
Yeah, and I will piggyback off of that to focus more on the Ohio Farm Bureau itself. What is your mission?
Yeah, I think that is the core of our mission, advancing agriculture and making sure that what we're doing every day is in line with what our members give us. At the core of what we do as far as driving agriculture is our grassroots process. We're a membership organization, and our engagement starts at the local level. Our members create our policy, they lead our organization, they come up through the ranks and become president of Ohio Farm Bureau, and we hope to help those leaders within our organization continue to lead other places in their communities, regardless of what that may look like, but that we also provide those leadership opportunities and professional development opportunities, that we represent the policies that are important to them, and that we ultimately are here every day looking through their paradigm.
And, right now we're in Columbus, Ohio, the capital, right? You're not seeing many farms within, 5 miles of the city. But for folks, kind of explain how important of an industry this really is to the state of Ohio. Rep. Peterson.
Yeah, certainly the number one industry in the state of Ohio when you combine all facets of it. And, I always say that, if you don't have food, you don't have the arts, you don't have sports, if you don't have food on the table, nothing else happens. You don't have the opportunity to get an education. Your only concern is where do I get my next bite or the next piece of food that I need. So that's great. I mean, one of the things I like about being a farmer is we produce things.
Yeah.
And we produce things that people need.
Yeah. And as a policymaker.
Yeah. And then we're sitting in the heart of Columbus, but I can take you to a farm, or Whitney can take you to a farm within 5 miles from here.
Oh, amazing.
Now, it may not be a big field of corn or soybeans,
Yeah.
but it could be very much a nursery, growing trees, or a vegetable operation, supplying fruit and vegetables to the restaurants right here. So there's agriculture all around you, just may not recognize it.
Yeah, thank you. I stand corrected. Which happens a lot, I will admit. I want to talk about Senate Bill 100. You had a really nice floor speech the other day about, the importance of it. Talk me through kind of what that bill is.
I think any small business, but especially agriculture, will tell you one of the greatest challenges they have is health insurance, finding an affordable health insurance. If those of us that work for state government or work for a company, usually your provider of insurance comes through your company, comes with your job. But as a sole proprietor or somebody self-employed, there's very limited options now for somebody, and certainly not very many affordable options. And so I think it's critically important. I know multiple families whose wife works or the husband may work off the farm just for insurance for a family because of the cost of buying it as a single individual.
Wow. And I will quote the floor speech just because it was so impactful. You said, a health plan may be the most important agriculture bill we pass this General Assembly.
I'm hopeful that we do lots of good things for agriculture. I'm sure we will, but I do believe that this bill, allowing people to, if they want to work off farm, they certainly can, but they don't have to do it for economic reasons, for health and for a health plan, to get health care for their family. That I think is going to be. I think Farm Bureau, when this plan gets in place next year, will provide an affordable option, and they can choose to grow their farm, or the spouse can work side by side on that farm and not have to go off farm to get insurance.
Yeah, because it's definitely an industry that you want to protect and
Absolutely.
encourage folks to stay in and join.
Yeah, and it's not just farmers, but any small business that
Yeah.
has, a small number of people has that same challenge.
Yeah, well, thank you for that, Whitney. I want to ask, you worked with Rep. Peterson on the House's version of this bill. Why was it important for the Ohio Farm Bureau to get involved?
Yeah, so it was obviously great to work with Rep. Peterson on this. I know that he has very personal examples as well as how this impacts, our lives and our industry. And we've been working in this space as an organization for almost 10 years. We have an association health plan, a MIWA, the Ohio Farm Bureau Health Benefits Plan, and that's similar to what he just alluded to with small businesses who want to offer something to their employees. But there's still a gap out there for people who, maybe you're a small business, but you don't have any other employees. Or an example I use a lot is you've been working off the farm for 20 years. Your parents are ready to retire. They ask you to come back to the farm. You have to figure out how to leave your full-time job with benefits and come back to that farm. You have to figure that out. So we knew that the gap there existed for multiple reasons, but that's a very common example. We saw Tennessee has been doing this since 1947. Very, very successfully. I know people who are on their fourth generation of their family using those plans. So that's very promising. And the opportunity for us to plug into what Tennessee Farm Bureau is doing through when they created Farm Bureau health plans is just a tremendous opportunity. So when we saw other states had successfully implemented the process the past 5 years or so, we're like, okay. Someone said the other day, Ohio, and we don't want to be first, we want to be right.
Yeah.
And I think, we were waiting for the right time and to kind of get our own ducks in a row. And it was the right time, and it's been very well received. And our members are very excited to have this as an option.
And I know last General Assembly, there were a lot of talks with just how dry it was as a whole and just the fear of farmers being able to support themselves. And so now having this legislation introduced to show that you are really trying to help that industry, how has that been?
Oh, I think the drought. Just talking about the drought, I'll share that it was the most difficult year of the 40 years I've been farming. It's my 40th crop and worst one by far because it just didn't rain in July and August, and that's kind of a critical period to have some rain. So about everybody in Ohio agriculture that's a crop farmer was struggling and has continued to struggle because now we're selling that crop and we don't have as much to sell. So those two aren't related by any means,
Right.
but that certainly is affecting the agriculture industry in Ohio.
Yeah.
And it's been a little bit of a challenging spring trying to get planted between the raindrops because there haven't been too many windows to do that. But we continue to find out that rain in July and August is the most critical thing. So we've got a crop there, and we just need to make sure we get enough water in July and August for the crop to grow and become the bountiful crop that we hope it is.
As a lifeguard in high school, those were also critical months for it to rain because that meant that I didn't have to come to work. So, no.
Did they pay you if you didn't come to work though?
So we would go in, but there'd be very few patrons. So it was, kind of getting paid to hang out with your friends and play cards in the lifeguard lounge. But
Which is also okay.
I know. So there you go. It's twofold for the high schoolers at the pool,
It's a good summer gig.
lifeguarding, and the farmers out in the fields. Obviously, one's much more important than the other. So, I will ask Whitney, can you kind of describe the difference between a health plan versus health insurance?
Yeah, so health insurance is a very legal, it's loosely used, but there's a very legal and specific definition to what is health insurance. So by us moving ourselves outside of that definition, it allows us to offer plans that are medically underwritten, which we hope is something that allows more stability and, as you noted, a very unstable economy for agriculture. But these plans are designed to offer more stability and to be more cost effective and to really just better fit the needs of people in agriculture. It's a very niche, opportunity, and our members will hopefully be able to see the value of it and apply for it later this year. But it is a very, very specific legal definition, but we're very, very clear that what we have is not insurance, but it is healthcare coverage, and it will allow people the safety net that they need to go about their business, feel comfortable with their family, and ultimately, if they want to come back to the farm, they know this is a good option that's going to be similarly aligned to what they're used to seeing.
I think the important part is it's an option in the marketplace
Okay.
that doesn't exist currently, and it's not regulated by the Ohio Department of Insurance. That's probably the most dramatic difference between the traditional insurance plans. Otherwise, it should function as a member benefit to Farm Bureau members, just like any healthcare plan you would think of normally.
Yeah, and thank you for both kind of tackling that. Is how do you get access to this if it goes through? There you go.
Yeah, I see you now.
See your good side there. Perfect. So how would folks get access to this then?
So first, you have to be an Ohio Farm Bureau member. It is a benefit to being a member of our organization, and that allows us to communicate with this specific group about the nuances of the plan, which is important. To be very clear with them as to what it is, but something that is important to us is not only will they be able to apply for the plans on the website or call the customer service center or we have a dedicated team of staff who will be handling this up the street here at Ohio Farm Bureau, but we will also have agents in local communities because it's important for us as a grassroots organization to have a face-to-face opportunity and to let people look through a hard copy and fully go through and understand what they're selecting. And for us, even at the county Farm Bureau level, we're looking forward to having more educational-based conversations with our members about healthcare in general. How to select a plan, how to understand what's in network and out of network, and how to better make those choices for your family.
So, Rep. Peterson, I will ask you, when did the collaboration with the Ohio Farm Bureau for this bill in particular start?
So I heard they were working on the bill. That got me very excited. And certainly we worked with Senator Manchester, who carried the bill on the Senate side, and appreciate her work over there. And I just wanted to make sure this got done because both my brother and his wife don't work necessarily off farm that have insurance opportunities, and my son that's come back to the farm was still with us through age 26, but then had to go find health insurance or health care plan of some kind. And both my brother and his family and my son have struggled to find options that are affordable, and there were some gaps involved where we encouraged them to be very healthy and very safe because they were uninsured for brief periods as they transition from one place to another, and that's something we should avoid.
Yeah, so it really, not only impacts the people of Ohio, but really your own family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's often, I think, when, the best pieces of legislation are done, when it really impacts a broad range and one super.
And certainly it's not just about my family.
100%.
It's every neighbor down the road.
Yeah. Oh yeah, all your
that has that same
constituents.
situation. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Constituents and the entire, state, all in
Yeah.
the industry. Whitney, I'll ask, if this does, when this does make it across the finish line, we'll put it in a positive light. How, how can folks get access to the plan, and how, we were talking about the Ohio Farm Bureau. How do they become a member?
Yeah, so you have to be a member to qualify for a plan. You can get a quote. There will be a designated website, a Farm Bureau Health Plans website that already exists. There will be an Ohio segment of that. So if you're a prefer that style of investigation, there's the website. There's a dedicated customer service team at Farm Bureau Health Plans. Up the street at Ohio Farm Bureau, we have a designated group of people who will be working on Farm Bureau Health Plans and our health benefit plan. So there will be Farm Bureau Health Services as an umbrella. But ultimately, to become a member, you become a member of your county Farm Bureau. I live in Fairfield County, so I joined the Fairfield County Farm Bureau. And with that, you don't only get access to, the potential of having these health plans, but also engagement with your local community and the opportunity to know what's going on, within agriculture in your area.
Perfect. So the last question is a big one. So Ohio's agriculture industry is obviously a huge part of the state's economy, as we've been talking about the importance of it there. $100 billion annually is the contribution from that industry. Pretty incredible. So in addition to this piece of legislation, how else do you feel that the Ohio legislature can support our farmers?
So I think it's important to recognize that agriculture and farmers are business people. So all the things that are helpful to business certainly are helpful to agriculture. Lower taxes, fair regulation, all those things are critically important and things that I think we're going to tackle in the budget. There's been a lot of discussion about personal property taxes, and those are significant. When you own a house, it's a problem. When you own thousands of acres and barns and houses and grain bins, it's an even bigger problem. So those are probably a couple things, and boy, if you can just make sure it rains in July and August, as
Yeah.
we talked earlier, that'd be a great help too.
I'll try to put in a good word with the good
For the lifeguards and the
that
farmers.
want to work, not the lazy one. And I was a college swimmer too, which is even worse. I mean, I was a lifeguard for probably 10, 15 plus years. And then Whitney, how about you? Are there any priorities that you would like to see get done?
I mean, I'll just retweet what he said. No,
Yeah.
and actually, I think the drought bill from the end of last year is a really good example of our industry is unpredictable. We don't have a lot of control over so many aspects of agriculture and farming in general. And so just knowing that there are willing minds and ears to listen when something like that does pop up, and that we can work quickly to find creative solutions. Our problems are, a lot of times geographical. So what impacts one part of the state might not look the same in another part of the state. So for the entire state legislature to look at a nuanced problem and find a nuanced solution is, one of the best opportunities that we could have, just that ongoing open door, open ear relationship. And I always point to drought relief as being a really great example of that.
I think there are a few, floor speeches of the ones that you hear all the time every Wednesday. We're fortunate to be in, the place and hear all of the things, to put it that way. Former Representative Don Jones last year about the drought in his area and constituents just sticks out to me so much. And obviously the one, a couple weeks ago of you saying a health plan would be the most important to agriculture, because folks probably wouldn't think that. But as we're breaking it down kind of in this episode, it is, that much importance for folks to be able to farm.
Yeah.
Ultimately.
Yeah, and that's one of the great things about having, the diversity of people that we have serving the Ohio legislature. I serve with farmers, legislators, firemen, policemen, business owners, lawyers, the diversity of Ohio. And that's what we each bring our areas of expertise and opportunities to advance issues that impact our part of the state. And certainly it's a very diverse state. And that's one of the great strengths Ohio has.
Yeah, I'll open the floor. Anything else that either of you want to talk about? coming through
How
the
much time do you have? An hour? No.
Yeah. All yours. Probably we have 30 minutes each episode. We had to tell the governor of Florida, you only get 30 minutes because of our batteries. Fortunately, we were on a time frame there too. But I just want to open the floor. Any other pieces of legislation or any other topics about, farming, Ohio farming that you think folks should know or would be important?
I mean, Rep. Peterson recently had an ag awareness and appreciation bill.
Oh, yes.
That's now over in the Senate, and we're looking forward to being able to celebrate that as well and continue to be a state that celebrates agriculture and has agriculture as a driving force in what we do. So we're very appreciative of, the two of those going through at the same time or similar timing was really advantageous.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that one as well. Yeah. It's an important industry. Everybody looks down on Ohio, I think. Or it makes fun, pokes fun. Oh, Ohio, you just think of cornfield or XYZ. But where do you think you guys get the corn from?
It's a very diverse agricultural community in Ohio.
Yeah.
I mean, from every corner of the state, they're doing something different. And we're very fortunate that we get to see that, just like land-wise, it's not the biggest state.
Right.
My kids told me the other day it's the 34th or 35th largest state.
Wow.
So messages from a 9-year-old.
Nice.
But you think about that and you think about the diversity of our industry and the impact it has economically, and it's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Can they sing the states yet?
No.
Is that
but they
still
can
taught?
I don't know, but they can identify them on a map.
Okay, I couldn't do that. I can maybe do half of them, but I probably couldn't do all of them. But I can sing them.
We've worked
What
hard on
use is
that.
that? I'm not sure
It
what
could
use
be.
is that. I guess maybe if you need to know all 50. Well, Representative Bob Peterson and Whitney Bowers with the Ohio Farm Bureau, thank you so much for coming on to talk about this bill and all things farming. I really appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
quickly we will go over social media. You can follow us on the Ohio House GOP Caucus on Facebook, Ohio House _GOP on Instagram, and the OHR GOP Caucus on Twitter. You can also subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Everybody, fingers crossed, say your prayers for rain in July and August. That'll be my
Absolutely.
last message. Thank you guys again.
Message.
Thank you.